Hello everyone and welcome back to Always Watching. Today we're discussing the documentary River of Grass. This is a very meditative film that explores how the environment is being eroded by humans. The documentary focuses on the Florida Everglades and unpacks its importance through Marjory Stoneman's groundbreaking book, The Everglades, River of Grass. It also draws attention to the indigenous communities who have lived in the area for generations, who have been warning about its deterioration long before this book was ever published. Visually, I felt this film was stunning. It weaves in the personal, political, while offering a very educational experience. The narrator uses excerpts from Marjory's book and then contextualizes this book through people whose families who have lived here for decades. The documentary begins with the aftermath of one of the worst natural disasters in the state's history. And then the film works backwards to try and unpack how much of this is natural and how much of this is man-made. I thought the film brilliantly explained the Florida Everglades and why they are so important. It also brilliantly explains how nature has a way of restoring balance and how this balance is being increasingly disturbed by humans. I thought the way the documentary unpacked the region's political and social importance really allowed audiences to appreciate just how devastating of an impact a lot of this infrastructure and technology has had, and more so how insensitive developers and innovators are in considering how their products or plans affect the environment. A huge issue the film points out is the lack of education and appreciation people have, not just for the Everglades, but for their own environment. And the more educated people are, the more likely they are to intervene and protect their communities. And the film gives a very clear example, especially with the rise of conservation and how the more sort of educated people became about the Everglades, the more willing they were to take active steps to protect it. One of my favorite moments of the documentary is when they're discussing how nature no longer knows what to do because humans have interfered so much. I think there's a fine line to building infrastructure that mitigates risk and one that tries to eliminate it completely. When it comes to nature, nothing can prevent a hurricane or a tornado or any natural disaster. All we can do is predict and protect people from getting hurt. And over time, nature has become something we fight against instead of collaborate with. And I love the way the film explains the Everglades because it allows you to appreciate how so much of what we're building is not really to assist nature's antibodies, but to totally eradicate them completely. And the irony is, in trying to make our lives easier, we've actually put ourselves in more risk. And a lot of these preventative measures that we're taking has actually made it very difficult to predict Mother Nature. Like, we don't know what to expect anymore. Winters feel longer and colder, summers feel hotter, and disasters feel a lot more catastrophic. And I like the way the film parallels the Everglades with cities like Miami and how this type of infrastructure is slowly just taking over the environment. And we've put more trust in technology and in man than we have in nature. And this trust is triggering a war that we're destined to lose. There are ways to make our lives easier without antagonizing nature or disturbing its natural flow. And the documentary makes it clear that a lot of these disturbances are, like, although we do see it and we do recognize it, we might not be appreciating how dangerous a lot of this is for our future. And I think watching this documentary, it made me realize just how fragile our ecosystem is and just how quickly nature can wipe out any progress we think we've made so far. And so this was an incredibly thoughtful and meditative documentary. It was very calming, and I just thought the nuance and the types of conversations it was trying to solicit were really well done. And so if you've seen it, let me know. And until next time.